tide carried us out before dawn, when the sea still held the night in its breath. The harbor lights faded behind the stern like fallen stars sinking beneath the waterline. Ahead lay open ocean, dark, wide, and patient. The Aurora responded gently beneath my boots. Old ship, faithful hull. She groaned softly as the waves lifted her, not in protest, but in acknowledgement, like a creature waking from sleep. Wind steady from the west. Sails full. Compass true. The crew moved quietly. No one spoke more than necessary. There are voyages that feel loud even before they begin, and others that seem to ask for silence. This one belonged to silence. Our destination was marked only by a symbol on the chart, a circle of ink no wider than a coin, drawn by a navigator long dead. No name, no coordinates written in numbers, only a note in the margin. When the sea begins to remember, you are close. No one aboard could say what it meant, but all of us felt it. Day 3. The ocean has changed its color, not storm dark, not shallow green, but something deeper, blue layered upon blue, as if the water itself holds depth beyond depth. Dolphins followed us at sunrise. They did not leap. They simply swam alongside the hull, silent and precise, their shapes cutting through the water like moving shadows. The wind has grown warmer. At night, the stars appear unfamiliar. Not wrong, just shifted, as if the sky has turned slightly when no one was looking. Crew morale remains calm. No fear, only curiosity. I find myself listening to the ship when I sleep. The timbers creak in slow rhythm, almost like breathing. Day 6. We crossed a current today that did not appear on any map. The water there was smooth as glass. No waves, no ripples. The Aurora glided forward without sound. Even the wind fell away, leaving the sails hanging loose. For a full hour we drifted in complete stillness. Then the bells rang. No one touched them. A single chime echoed through the hull, low, distant, resonant, as if struck beneath the sea itself. When the sound faded, the wind returned. No damage, no injuries. Yet something has changed. The crew now dreams the same dream. An island, always at dusk, always just beyond reach. Day 9. Land sighted at sunset, exactly as in the dreams. The island rose slowly from the haze, crowned with cliffs the color of ash and silver. Waterfalls poured directly into the sea, glowing faintly as though lit from within. No birds circled overhead. No smoke. No signs of habitation. And yet, lights flickered along the shoreline. Not fires. Lamps. We anchored at a respectful distance. No one was eager to step ashore. The sea around the island was unnaturally calm, holding the ship in place as if with invisible hands. That night, I stood watch alone. From the island came music, low and distant, carried across the water, like memory rather than sound. I knew the melody. I could not remember where I had learned it. Day 10. We went ashore at dawn. The beach was smooth black stone, warm beneath the feet. The air smelled of rain and old books. Paths wound upward into a forest of pale trees, whose leaves shimmered like thin glass. At the heart of the island stood a lighthouse. No beam shone from it. The door was open. Inside, the walls were covered in ship names, thousands of them, etched carefully into the stone. Some were ancient, some recent, and one, carved near the base of the spiral stairs, bore fresh markings. Aurora. Below it was today's date. The keeper awaited us at the top. He was neither young nor old. His eyes reflected the sea as if he carried it within him. He told us the truth gently. This island does not guide ships home. It keeps them from being lost forever. When storms swallow vessels, when time forgets them, when maps fail, they arrive here, not broken, not destroyed, simply finished. The lighthouse does not shine outward. It shines inward, holding memories so the sea does not erase them. Day 11. The crew chose to stay, not out of fear, out of peace. Some ships are meant to sail endlessly. Others are meant to become stories. The Aurora's hull hummed softly as we returned her to the water, one final time. She settled near the island, anchored among dozens of others resting quietly side by side. No rot, no decay, only rest. I am the last aboard tonight, writing by lamplight in the captain's cabin. The sea outside is calm. The lighthouse has begun to glow. Not bright, not blinding. Just enough to be seen by those who need it. Soon, I will join the others. When the tide shifts again, new ships will come, and we will be here to remember them. The lighthouse breathes, not like a flame and not like a machine, but slowly, rhythmically, as if it were alive. Its glow rises and falls in soft waves, painting the anchored ships in silver and blue. I remain at the desk while the ink dries. There is no urgency anymore. Time here does not move forward so much as it drifts, like the tide. Moments stretch gently, never snapping, never rushing. The hands of my pocket watch still turn, yet each tick feels optional. Outside the cabin window, the sea reflects stars that do not belong to my sky. Some are familiar. Others shimmer faintly, like ideas half remembered. When I step onto the deck, the Aurora greets me with warmth beneath my feet. The wood is no longer cold. It recognizes where it has arrived. Across the water, other ships rest in silence. A three-masted trader with sails furled forever. A narrow fishing vessel painted red and white, its nets neatly coiled. A great iron steamship whose chimney no longer smokes, yet still hums faintly in its sleep. All of them drifting, all of them listening. The keeper joins me without sound. "You may walk the shoreline tonight," he says. The sea is calm enough to speak. So I go. The beach glows beneath the moonless sky, illuminated by plankton that shimmer like fallen constellations. Each step sends quiet ripples of light through the sand. The water laps gently, repeating a rhythm older than language. When I kneel, the sea pulls away slightly, as if making room. Images form beneath the surface. Ships in storms, lanterns swinging, hands gripping rigging in wind and rain, voices calling names that were once loved. The ocean remembers everything. But here, it releases the weight of those memories. Waves roll in and fade, carrying stories away, not to erase them, but to soften them. This is not an ending place. It is a place where endings stop hurting. Later, as the night deepens, bells ring again beneath the water. Not alarms, welcomes. A distant silhouette approaches the horizon, another vessel drawn by unseen currents. Its sails are torn, but it floats. A single lantern burns at its bow, trembling but alive. The lighthouse brightens in response. The keeper smiles. "Come," he says. Together we wait at the edge of the shore as the ship glides closer, guided not by charts or stars, but by relief. When it anchors, the crew does not panic. They simply breathe, as if they have been holding that breath for a very long time. Days pass, or perhaps nights. The island does not mark them clearly. I help carve the ship's name into the stone wall inside the lighthouse. Each letter settles gently into the rock, as though it had always belonged there. The wall is not a grave. It is a library, and every ship is a book finally returned to its shelf. Sometimes the keeper leaves and returns, with no explanation. Sometimes I walk the forest paths and hear voices drifting between the trees, soft conversations between sailors who have found one another again, after decades apart. Laughter carries here, without echo. No sound ever feels lonely. One evening, I return to the Aurora. She waits patiently. I step into the cabin, running my fingers along the chart table, the compass, the worn edges of the map that brought us here. The circle of ink remains. But now, beneath it, new words have appeared in my own handwriting, though I do not remember writing them. When you are ready, the sea will carry you again. The ship rocks gently, not anchored, drifting. I understand. Some captains remain on the island. Others sail onward, not back, not forward, but elsewhere. Wherever forgotten routes still exist. I raise the sails. The Aurora responds immediately, eager and light. The lighthouse dims behind me, its work done for now. The sea opens. Ship's log. No date recorded. The waters ahead glow softly, like dawn stretched across eternity. The wind is perfect. The compass spins once, then settles, pointing toward something warm. I am not afraid. I have already arrived once. The voyage continues, and somewhere ahead, another light waits to be remembered. The Aurora moves without effort now. No creak of strain in her hull, no slap of water against the bow. She glides as if the sea itself has learned her shape and carries her gently in its palms. Ahead, the horizon no longer forms a hard line. Sky and water blend together, fading from deep blue into silver mist. There is no sun here, yet everything glows softly, as though lit from within. I adjust the wheel only once. After that, the ship seems to know where it is going. The air is warm and still. Each breath feels slower than the last, heavy with salt and something faintly sweet, like rain falling on old parchment. Below deck, the lanterns sway, though there is no wind. Their light stretches longer than it should, pooling across the floor in liquid gold. Time loosens. Minutes drift apart like islands. Another vessel appears to port. It is close enough that I could call out, yet sound feels unnecessary. The ship keeps pace beside me, its sails pale and translucent, as if woven from fog. A woman stands at its rail. She raises her hand in greeting. I know her, though I cannot recall from where. Perhaps we crossed paths once in a harbor long ago. Perhaps we dreamed each other. She smiles, not with urgency, not with sadness, but with recognition. Two travelers acknowledging the same long road. Our ships sail together for a while. Then gently, without turning, hers fades back into the mist. No farewell is needed. Ship's log. Still no date. Stars appear beneath the water now instead of above it. Each swell lifts reflections of constellations that ripple and reform as the hull passes through them. When I look down, I see moments rather than fish. A boy learning knots on a quiet dock. A storm breaking suddenly at midnight. A warm cup pressed into cold hands. The sea is not showing these things to trap me in memory, only to remind me that they existed. And that was enough. In the distance, something massive moves. Not threatening, ancient. The water rises slowly around a shape darker than night, a creature older than maps, longer than nations. Its back breaks the surface like a drifting island, covered in barnacles the size of doors. It does not open its eyes. It simply swims. As it passes beneath the aurora, the ship lifts gently, cradled by the tide of its movement. For a moment, everything is perfectly still. Then, the creature is gone. The sea exhales. The wind returns near twilight. Real wind this time. Cool. Familiar. It carries the smell of land. Not the lighthouse island, but somewhere else. Somewhere unfinished. Ahead, faint lights shimmer along a distant coast. Harbors. Homes. Voices not yet quieted by rest. The aurora slows. This crossing is not meant for arrival, only for passing close enough to remember what living felt like. I watch from the deck as the lights drift by. I feel no longing, only gratitude. When the shore fades, the sea grows darker again, but not empty. Music hums beneath the hull, low and steady. The same melody I heard before the island. Only now I understand it. It is not a song of calling. It is a song of keeping. As long as it plays, no ship is ever truly lost. I return to the cabin. The logbook waits open. The ink never runs dry. My handwriting has grown steadier, calmer. I write not to track direction anymore, but to keep the rhythm of the voyage. Because as long as the log continues, so does the journey. The Aurora moves without effort now. No creak of strain in her hull, no slap of water against the bow. She glides as if the sea itself has learned her shape and carries her gently in its palms. Ahead, the horizon no longer forms a hard line. Sky and water blend together, fading from deep blue into silver mist. There is no sun here, yet everything glows softly, as though lit from within. I adjust the wheel only once. After that, the ship seems to know where it is going. The air is warm and still. Each breath feels slower than the last, heavy with salt and something faintly sweet, like rain falling on old parchment. Below deck, the lanterns sway, though there is no wind. Their light stretches longer than it should, pooling across the floor in liquid gold. Time loosens. Minutes drift apart like islands. Another vessel appears to port. It is close enough that I could call out, yet sound feels unnecessary. The ship keeps pace beside me, its sails pale and translucent, as if woven from fog. A woman stands at its rail. She raises her hand in greeting. I know her, though I cannot recall from where. Perhaps we crossed paths once in a harbor long ago. Perhaps we dreamed each other. She smiles, not with urgency, not with sadness, but with recognition. Two travelers acknowledging the same long road. Our ships sail together for a while. Then gently, without turning, hers fades back into the mist. No farewell is needed. Ship's log. Still no date. Stars appear beneath the water, now instead of above it. Each swell lifts reflections of constellations that ripple and reform as the hull passes through them. When I look down, I see moments rather than fish. A boy learning knots on a quiet dock. A storm breaking suddenly at midnight. A warm cup pressed into cold hands. The sea is not showing these things to trap me in memory, only to remind me that they existed. And that was enough. In the distance, something massive moves, not threatening, ancient. The water rises slowly around a shape darker than night, a creature older than maps, longer than nations. Its back breaks the surface like a drifting island, covered in barnacles the size of doors. It does not open its eyes. It simply swims. As it passes beneath the Aurora, the ship lifts gently, cradled by the tide of its movement. For a moment, everything is perfectly still. Then, the creature is gone. The sea exhales. The wind returns near twilight. Real wind this time. Cool. Familiar. It carries the smell of land. Not the lighthouse island, but somewhere else. Somewhere unfinished. Ahead, faint lights shimmer along a distant coast. Harbors. Homes. Voices not yet quieted by rest. The Aurora slows. This crossing is not meant for arrival, only for passing close enough to remember what living felt like. I watch from the deck as the lights drift by. I feel no longing, only gratitude. When the shore fades, the sea grows darker again, but not empty. Music hums beneath the hull, low and steady. The same melody I heard before the island. Only now I understand it. It is not a song of calling. It is a song of keeping. As long as it plays, no ship is ever truly lost. I return to the cabin. The logbook waits open. The ink never runs dry. My handwriting has grown steadier, calmer. I write not to track direction anymore, but to keep the rhythm of the voyage. Because as long as the log continues, so does the journey. If you'd like, I can continue this into hours of uninterrupted narration, even slower, more dreamlike pacing, an endless night ocean sequence, perfect for sleep retention. Recurring soft motifs that help listeners fall asleep faster. Just say more, and I'll keep the sea moving. More, still drifting, still continuous. Paste this directly after the last line. No breaks, no reset. The sea darkens gently, not into night, but into depth. Light remains, faint and blue, glowing from beneath the surface, as if the ocean itself remembers daylight and refuses to let it go completely. The aurora sails onward. No wake follows her now. The water closes silently behind the stern, smooth as untouched glass. I lean against the rail and listen, not for danger, only for rhythm. The ship hums softly, a sound felt more than heard. It vibrates through the wood, through my boots, through my chest, syncing my breathing to its pace. In and out. The wind brushes past like a passing thought. A bell rings somewhere far below. Once, then again. Not an alarm, a marker. We are crossing another threshold. The temperature changes slightly, cooler but comforting, like the first moment beneath clean sheets. Mist curls along the surface of the water, rising just high enough to blur the horizon. Within it, drift shapes. Not ships. Doors. Tall wooden frames floating upright on the waves, each leading somewhere different. Some glow faintly. Others remain dark. The aurora does not approach them. She has already chosen. The doors slide past slowly, respectfully, until none remain. Below deck, the lantern light dims. I sit at the small table and close my eyes. Sleep comes easily here. Dreams blend seamlessly with waking. I dream of a harbor at dawn, gulls crying lazily overhead, nets drying on posts, a kettle steaming on a small stove. I wake to find the scent of coffee lingering in the air, though no cup sits nearby. Memory and moment intertwine gently, neither demanding dominance. Ship's log. the sea has grown kind, not gentle. The ocean is never gentle, but understanding. Waves rise and fall with intention, never sharply, never suddenly. Each swell lifts the ship like a breath, lifting the chest of someone deeply asleep. Stars begin to fall, not from the sky, from nowhere. They drift down slowly, dissolving before touching the water, leaving behind soft rings of light that expand and fade. I realize then that the sky is no longer above me. It surrounds me. Another ship appears astern, small, single-masted. Its lantern flickers wildly. The aurora slows. We wait. The vessel draws near, rocking nervously. A young captain stands at the helm, eyes wide, hands trembling. He does not speak. He does not need to. I raise my lantern. He exhales. Relief crosses his face like dawn breaking after a storm. The sea calms around him. His ship steadies. For a while, we sail side by side. I say nothing. He says nothing. When he is ready, the current gently turns his bow toward a new direction, one I cannot follow. Before parting, he nods. I return it. Then he is gone, carried safely onward. The aurora resumes her course, always forward, always drifting, never rushing. The lighthouse song hums faintly beneath the waves again, weaker now, distant but present, proof that the island remains, keeping watch. I feel no need to return. Some sailors become keepers. Others become guides. Some simply continue sailing so the sea never feels empty. The horizon brightens softly, not with sunrise, with calm. A vast open stretch lies ahead, quiet and endless, where the water mirrors thought itself. Here, nothing chases you. Nothing waits impatiently. The world breathes slowly. I place the logbook beside the helm, letting the pen rest. There will always be another entry. For now, the ship knows the way. The sails whisper. The hull listens. The ocean remembers. And the voyage continues. Day 1. Latitude uncertain. The instruments say we are where we plan to be, but the sea tells a different story. We departed before dawn under orders sealed in wax, destination written only as a coordinate that does not appear on any chart aboard. The crew accepted this without protest. They always do. The wind favored us early, filling the canvas with a confidence that felt rehearsed. I logged the course, checked the compass twice, and noted a faint vibration beneath the deck, as if the ship herself were clearing her throat before speaking. By midday, the horizon flattened into a hard line, sky and water meeting without ceremony. No birds, no passing vessels. The sea carried a darker color than usual, not storm dark, but deep, like ink diluted just enough to reflect light. I ordered reduced sail in the afternoon despite clear weather. The decision felt correct before I could justify it. The crew watched me closely, but complied. Tonight, the water laps against the hull in a pattern I do not recognize. Day 3. We have made progress without distance. Each noon sighting places us within a mile of where we were the day before. The charts insist we are moving. The wake insists otherwise. I have stopped mentioning this to the crew. They know. You can see it in how they avoid looking astern. At second bell, a fog rolled in without warning, thick and low, hugging the surface of the water as if poured rather than formed. Visibility dropped to a ship's length. Sound carried strangely through it. The creak of the mast arrived late, stretched thin, like it had traveled farther than it should have. One of the deckhands swore he heard another hull moving parallel to us, but no impact came. No shadow appeared. The fog lifted just before dusk, leaving the sea unchanged and empty. Day 5. We passed wreckage this morning. Planks worn smooth by water, a length of rope fused stiff with salt, and a bell without a name engraved on its rim. No paint, no markings. I ordered it brought aboard. It hangs now near the chart table, though no one admits to placing it there. When the ship rolls, it does not ring. It hums. Very softly. The crew is quiet, not fearful, focused. It is the silence of people listening for instructions they know will come but cannot predict. I sleep lightly now. The ship adjusts her heading at night. I feel it in my bones before I see it on the compass in the morning. Day 7. The sea changed today, not in temperament, but in behavior. Waves began forming from multiple directions at once, intersecting without canceling each other out. The result was a surface that looked stable until you studied it closely. Then you could see the contradictions. I ordered half speed. The rudder resisted correction, not stiff, but hesitant, like it wanted to finish a thought before responding. At dusk, the sun set twice, once clean and red, dipping below the horizon. Then again, moments later, a second glow faded in the opposite direction. No one commented. I logged only the first. Day 10. We found the island at dawn, though no land was scheduled. It rose from the water gradually, not breaking the surface so much as being revealed as the light improved. Low cliffs, dark stone, no visible vegetation. The sea around it was calm to the point of discomfort. We anchored without discussion. Orders are easier when they feel inevitable. I went ashore with 2 hands. The sand was black and warm, even in the morning air. No footprints remained behind us. The island was silent in a way that pressed inward. No wind, no insects, no distant surf. At the center stood a structure built from the same stone as the cliffs. Not ruins, not new, simply present. Inside, we found logs, ship logs, shelved carefully, each bound in weathered leather, names etched so faintly they were nearly gone. Dates spanned centuries, routes overlapped. I recognized phrases, turns of language I use myself. I closed the book I was holding without finishing it. We returned to the ship before noon. Day 11. We sailed at first light. The island was gone by the time we cleared the fog bank that formed around us overnight. No one asked about it. The bell by the chart table vibrates now whenever we adjust course. I have stopped touching it. The crew reports dreams of open water with no horizon, of sailing without sails, of following lights that vanish when approached. Morale remains stable. That concerns me more than fear would. Day 14. The stars are wrong, not misplaced, but rearranged. Familiar patterns exist, but the spaces between them have shifted. The navigator refuses to take readings now, says the sky is moving independently of us. I did not relieve him of duty. His refusal felt like a correction rather than a failure. At midnight, we passed another vessel. Close enough to hear her timbers. She carried no lights. Her sails were furled, yet she moved faster than we did. As she crossed our bow, I saw her name carved deep into the stern. It was the name of our ship, written in a hand I recognize. Day 16. We no longer track days by the calendar, only by the number of times the sea changes its mind. Today, the water became reflective, not mirroring the sky, but reflecting something beneath us. Shapes moved below the hull that did not correspond to our shadow. They kept pace effortlessly. I ordered the crew below deck for several hours. When we emerged, the sea had returned to normal. Normal is a flexible term now. Day 18. The wind died completely at noon, not faded, stopped. The sails hung motionless, heavy with their own weight. Despite this, we continued moving forward. The log line spun slowly, steadily, without resistance. The crew watched it as if it might explain itself. That night, the ship spoke. Not aloud, not in words. A pressure behind the eyes, a certainty. We are not lost. We are being brought. Day 21. We reached the coordinates from the sealed orders today. Nothing marked the location. No buoy, no land, just open sea. When we crossed it, the water changed color instantly, forming a perfect boundary. I ordered the engines cut. The ship slowed, then stopped on her own. The bell rang once. The crew assembled without command. We stood on deck as the surface of the water ahead began to lower, not drain, but step down, revealing something vast beneath. A passage, a continuation, not downward, inward. I make this final entry as the ship begins to move again, following a course that no longer requires correction. The log will end here. It has been written before. It will be written again. The sea keeps good records. We departed under a low sky with no color to it. Not gray, not blue, simply empty, like the sky had not decided what it wanted to be yet. The harbor lights faded behind us one by one, each reflection stretching across the water, and then breaking apart as the wake passed through it. I logged our departure time carefully, though I already knew it would matter less than it should. The ship responded well at first. The rudder felt firm. The deck answered each step with a familiar tone. She was an old vessel, but honest, and honesty counts for something at sea. The crew moved quietly, performing their tasks without needing reminders. Lines were secured. Canvas was set. The bell marked the watches, steady and reliable. And for a while, the voyage felt like every other one before it. By mid-morning, the shoreline had thinned into a suggestion and then disappeared entirely. The sea opened up, wide and patient. Swells rolled beneath us in long intervals, lifting the hull gently before setting it down again. I marked our heading and made a note of the wind. Favorable, steady, nothing unusual. Still, I lingered over the entry longer than necessary, as if writing might anchor the moment in place. The first day passed without incident. That alone should have reassured me. Instead, it made me uneasy. Calm at sea is never permanent. It is borrowed time. At sunset, the horizon sharpened, the line between water and sky becoming unnaturally clean. The sun lowered without distortion. No haze, no flare, just a red disk slipping away. When it vanished, The temperature dropped faster than expected. I ordered an extra watch posted, though there was nothing specific to watch for. The crew accepted the order without comment. That night, the ship made sounds I had not heard before. Not loud, not alarming. Small adjustments, a shift in the timbers, a slow, deliberate creak that did not match the motion of the waves. I lay awake in my bunk, counting the rhythm of it, trying to decide if it followed the roll or something else entirely. Morning came clean and pale. No clouds, no birds. I took our position and frowned at the result. The numbers were correct, but they felt wrong in my hands, like a familiar word spelled incorrectly. I checked again. Same result. We had covered less distance than expected. Not enough to justify concern, but enough to be noted. I logged it. As the days continued, small inconsistencies accumulated. The wind shifted without affecting our speed. The current carried us without leaving signs on the surface. The compass held steady, but the stars at night seemed slow to rotate, as if the sky itself were reluctant to turn. The crew began to notice, not openly. Sailors are careful with their thoughts. They notice first, then wait to see if the sea corrects itself. When it does not, they wait longer. On the 5th day, we encountered fog. It did not roll in from a direction. It simply appeared. One moment the horizon was visible. The next, it was gone. Sound behaved strangely inside it. Footsteps echoed too long. Voices felt stretched, thin. I ordered reduced speed and posted lookouts at the bow, though visibility was no more than a few lengths of the ship. We passed through the fog for hours. The moisture beaded on the railings and the lines, cold and heavy. No condensation formed on the sails. That detail bothered me more than it should have. Fog always leaves its mark. When we finally emerged, the sea looked unchanged. No sign we had traveled at all. I made another note in the log. Time settled into repetition. Watches changed. Meals were served. The bell marked each interval with patient certainty. Yet the days began to blur together, not from monotony, but from similarity. Weather repeated itself too closely. The same wind, the same swell, the same light at the same hour. On what I believed was the 9th day, we found debris. A plank, a section of railing, a coil of rope stiff with salt. No fresh breaks, no recent damage. It looked old, but not decayed, as if time had slowed around it. The crew brought the pieces aboard. None of them bore markings. No paint, no name. I ordered them stored below, then reversed the order and had them thrown back. Once something comes aboard, it has a way of staying. That night, one of the hands reported hearing water running inside the hull. We searched and found nothing. The bilge was dry. The sound did not return, but the memory of it lingered. The sea darkened gradually over the following days. Not storm dark, deeper than that, like depth without distance. Looking over the side, you could not tell how far down the water went. The line between surface and below had softened, blurred. Dreams spread through the crew, similar ones. Long voyages, endless headings, following lights that never grew closer. No one panicked. Panic is loud. This was quiet acceptance, which is far more dangerous. I began to feel watched, not from the sea, but by the ship herself, as if she were waiting to see if I would notice something important. I walked her decks at night, hand on the rail, listening to the language of wood and iron. Ships speak constantly. Most captains just stop listening. On the 12th day, the wind died. The sails slackened and hung heavy. The sea smoothed out, swell flattening until the surface looked worked, polished. Despite this, the ship continued forward at a slow, even pace. The log line confirmed it. Movement without cause. No one spoke. At dusk, the sky took on a color I could not name. Not red, not purple. Something between stretched thin across the horizon. The sun vanished without setting, simply no longer present. Darkness followed without transition. Stars appeared late. When they did, they were unfamiliar. Not wrong exactly, just arranged with subtle differences, patterns almost remembered. I stopped recording positions after that. Instead, I recorded conditions, sensations, decisions. The log became less about where we were and more about how the voyage was unfolding, as if location had become irrelevant. We sailed on. Days passed, or something like days. The bell continued to mark time, and we obeyed it because routine is survival. The sea remained calm, too calm. No storms, no waves worth naming. The absence of danger became its own threat. At one point, we crossed our own wake. I am certain of it. The pattern of foam was unmistakable, fresh, recent. The crew saw it too. No one asked how it was possible. The ship did not slow. Eventually, I realized we were not wandering. We were following something. Not a path visible on the water, but a sequence. Conditions repeated in a specific order. Calm, fog, darkness, stillness, movement without wind. Each cycle tighter than the last. I began to anticipate changes before they occurred. When the air cooled, I knew fog would follow. When the sea smoothed, I knew the wind would die. The ship responded, as if relieved that someone understood. On one watch, deep into the night, I felt a shift beneath my feet. Not a turn, not a roll. Alignment, like a lock finding its key. Ahead of us, the water changed texture. Not color, texture. It reflected light differently, swallowing the stars rather than mirroring them. The ship entered it without resistance. I made this entry carefully, slowly, aware that the words mattered less than the act of writing them. The voyage continues. It always has. The sea is not empty. It is patient, and it keeps what is given to it. The ship remained inside the altered water longer than expected. There was no boundary to mark entry or exit, only the gradual realization that the stars above no longer reflected on the surface at all. Light seemed to stop at the waterline, as if the sea had learned a new rule and chosen to enforce it strictly. The crew adapted. They always do. Tasks were completed with the same precision as before, though conversations grew shorter. Not from fear, from economy. Words were spent more carefully now, as if they might be needed later. The bell continued to mark the watches. Each strike carried farther than it should have, echoing outward and then returning faintly, delayed, like a response. No one commented on that either. I recorded sail adjustments even when none were made. The act of writing preserved structure. Without it, the days might have collapsed entirely into one another. At some point, the water beneath us began to glow faintly, not luminous, suggestive, a subtle light that hinted at depth rather than revealing it. Shapes moved far below, slow and deliberate, too distant to resolve clearly. I watched them until my eyes ached, then stopped when I realized they were not moving past us. We were moving with them. Sleep came in fragments. Dreams bled into waking moments. I would rise from my bunk, convinced I had already stood watch, only to find my name still hours away on the roster. Time was behaving less like a line and more like a tide, advancing and retreating without explanation. One evening, during the quiet between watches, the ship altered course without command. Not sharply, gently. The compass needle hesitated, then settled on a new heading. I did not correct it. The decision felt already made. The sea responded immediately. The glow beneath us intensified, the shapes aligning beneath the keel like a convoy. The ship's motion smoothed out, vibrations fading until she moved with an unnatural steadiness. A sailor approached me then, one of the older hands. He did not salute. He simply stood, hands loose at his sides, eyes on the water. He said he believed the ship knew where she was going. I told him that ships always do. He nodded, satisfied, and returned to his duties. That night, we passed through another fog bank, thinner this time, more selective. It clung to the deck but left the masts clear, wrapping the lower portions of the ship like a shawl. The sensation of moving through it was intimate, almost careful, as if the fog were inspecting us rather than obstructing us. When it cleared, the sky had changed again. Fewer stars, wider gaps between them. Darkness felt heavier, more deliberate. We sailed on. Food stores remained unchanged, fresh longer than they should have. Water barrels never dipped as low as expected. The ship was sustaining us in ways that did not align with the ledger. I stopped recalculating. Another cycle completed itself. Calm, stillness, movement without wind, alignment. Each time, the intervals shortened. Each time, the transition felt smoother. I began to suspect we were no longer progressing through the voyage, but refining it. On what might have been the 20th or 30th day, we encountered sound without source. A low resonance traveling through the hull, not mechanical, not organic. It vibrated through bone more than ear. The crew paused in unison, each man waiting for the next beat. When none came, work resumed. Later, the sound returned, closer to rhythm now. I counted it unconsciously. Not a pattern I recognized, but one that felt intentional. The water ahead began to part again, not lowering this time, but folding, creating a broad corridor of darker sea, bordered by faint light. The ship entered it without slowing. Inside, the air grew dense. Breathing required more effort, though no one complained. Speech felt unnecessary. Orders were anticipated before they were given. The crew moved as if guided by a shared understanding that did not require explanation. I realized then that the log itself had changed. My handwriting had shifted. The letters leaned differently. The spacing had tightened. The words felt older, more practiced, as if written by someone who had made these entries many times before. I did not attempt to correct it. The corridor extended far ahead, curving gently, always just beyond the reach of full sight. The shapes beneath the water rose closer now, their outlines clearer. massive forms, smooth and patient, traveling alongside us with the ease of things that have never known resistance. At intervals, the ship's hull responded to them. A subtle answering vibration. Recognition. The crew slept less, not from discomfort, from readiness. Rest felt optional now, something we did only when required. Fatigue never settled fully. We existed in a sustained state of alert calm. Another vessel appeared to starboard 1 watch later, then another to port, then more, emerging gradually from the darkness, each matching our speed precisely. None flew flags. None carried lights. Their hulls bore the same weathered familiarity as our own. We did not hail them. We did not need to. The formation held. Dozens of ships now, spread wide across the altered sea, all moving in quiet coordination. I sensed that we were not the lead, nor the last, simply one part of a larger passage. The bell rang on its own. Once, twice, then resumed its normal interval, as if nothing had happened. I logged everything, or thought I did. Pages filled faster than expected. When I reached the end of the book, I found more pages waiting, blank and dry, bound seamlessly where the spine should have ended. The voyage deepened. The sea no longer reflected memory. It reflected intention. The further we traveled, the clearer it became that this was not a crossing, but a process. Ships entered, ships aligned, ships continued. Where they went was no longer the important question. What mattered was that they arrived ready. The formation held through what felt like another full cycle of watches. Ships maintained their spacing without signal or adjustment. No flags were raised, no lanterns shone. Their presence was steady, almost reassuring, like walls forming around a road that had always been there. The water within the corridor grew darker still, though not opaque. Depth asserted itself in layers, each one pressing downward on the senses. The glow beneath us dimmed and brightened in slow pulses, not synchronized, but related, as if responding to a signal too large to notice all at once. I walked the deck more frequently now, not to inspect, but to remain aligned. The planks felt warmer underfoot, faintly alive with vibration. The ship no longer creaked at random. Each sound carried intention. Each adjustment was measured. At some point, the air began to smell different. Not salt, something older, mineral, dry despite the water all around us. The crew noticed it as well. I saw it in the way they inhaled carefully, as if testing the air before committing to it. Sleep came again, deeper this time, but it brought no dreams. Just long stretches of absence, followed by immediate awareness upon waking. No grogginess, no confusion, only continuity. The stars shifted again, fewer now. The remaining ones burned steadily, fixed in their positions, refusing rotation. Night no longer progressed in the usual sense. Darkness arrived, stayed, then lifted when it was finished with us. We passed close enough to another ship that I could see the faces of her crew. They looked as we did, calm, focused, familiar. One man met my eyes briefly and nodded, not in greeting, but in acknowledgement. That was enough. The corridor widened. The water folded farther away from us now, opening into something like a basin. The surrounding ships adjusted smoothly, spreading out without instruction. We followed, drifting toward the center of the space. Below us, the shapes finally resolved. Vast hulls, far larger than any ship built by hand, smooth forms that resembled vessels only in the most abstract way. They moved with the certainty of things that did not need to hurry. They did not surface. They did not retreat. They accompanied. I felt the ship respond again, this time with something like relief. The bell rang at the change of watch. Its sound did not echo now. It was absorbed, taken in by the air itself. I made an entry noting our position, though I had no coordinates to write. Instead, I described alignment, formation density, and the condition of the water. The words felt sufficient. Food was prepared and eaten without ceremony. Hunger appeared briefly, then vanished once addressed. No excess, no scarcity. Everything arrived at the correct moment. Time stretched, or perhaps thinned. It was difficult to tell. The sea ahead began to rise, not in waves, but in elevation. A gradual slope, almost imperceptible at first, then undeniable. The ships climbed it without resistance, hulls gliding upward as if buoyancy had been recalibrated. The basin below us receded, folding back into itself. Darkness filled the space it left behind. At the crest, the water leveled out again, smoother than before. The corridor was gone. The formation dissolved naturally, ships peeling away along headings that felt predetermined. We continued forward alone, once more. I expected a sense of loss. None came. The sea here was quiet in a different way, not empty, attentive, as if waiting for the next step. The ship slowed on her own, not stopping, just easing into a pace that felt deliberate. The vibrations faded until the deck was still beneath my boots. I realized then that the voyage was no longer about movement. It was about readiness. The crew gathered on deck without being called. We stood together, facing forward, watching the water ahead. Nothing marked the surface. No light, no shadow, just depth and expectation. The air grew heavier again, pressing gently against the chest. Breathing adjusted automatically. I opened the log and wrote steadily, hand moving with confidence I did not remember learning. The sea does not rush. Neither do we. The ship remains steady. We remain aboard. The passage continues.